Well, I've just about finished what I'm doing here. If you want to twist your neck. I know that nobody would believe me if I just tell you outright about what I did today, especially my husband. Oh, he thinks I've come home over the years with far too many tall tales for him ever to believe a thing I say anymore. Most of the time, he's, ouch, that's sharp. Most of the time, he's right. But today something peculiar happened while I was in Jerusalem. I know you won't believe me. That's why I'm working on this. Oh, this should about do it. I felt I had to make this a second one of these crowns to show you. Otherwise, who could believe that someone would wear this? Yes, someone in the governor's place had this put on his head today. I wouldn't believe it myself either, except I was there when it happened. Some soldiers took this crown and they placed it on a man's head, and they pushed it down really hard to make it fit. I couldn't believe it. It was the most cruel thing I've ever been a party to. But the reason I was there wasn't because I wanted to be. You see, I was just this morning sitting at the city wall trying to sell my baskets. It wasn't a very good day. I wasn't selling many of them. In fact, I hadn't sold one. And then up near the governor's place, I saw this large crowd gathered. They were shouting and chanting. I didn't know what was going on. But then I looked and I couldn't hear. My hearing isn't too good, and they were some distance away. But then, as I was looking, 2 Roman soldiers started coming toward me. They were running, coming directly at me. I thought something was going on the other side, but they kept coming straight toward me. They didn't turn. And so I quickly started digging on my baskets because I didn't want any trouble. But before I could finish, one of them grabbed my arm and he said, "Come, old bully, you have work to do today." And then they just looked at each other and laughed. Well, it seemed forever till we got up to the palace, the governor's palace. They just dragged me with them. The crowd, when we got there, was very large, much larger than I had thought. And then the soldiers just pushed me through to the center of the mob, dragging me with them. And then, at the center of the mob, I saw this man just standing there in the middle of the circle of soldiers. And he had his arms bound in front of him. And his clothes were all bloody and torn. And the soldiers, they were standing all around him, and they were just tossing him from side to side as though he were a coconut being tossed around, the way the little children do. And then one of the soldiers that had brought me there, dragged me there, put a basket of branches in front of me, and they were full of thorns, long, sharp thorns. And then he said, "Woman, twist a crown for the king." And I thought, a crown? Who would make a crown out of these thorns, these branches with thorns? Thorns, and what king would want a crown such as that? But then I started listening to what the soldiers were saying to the poor man with the bloody and torn clothing. They were just taunting him and ridiculing him and saying awful things like, "Okay, King of the Jews, if you're really the King of the Jews, where's your throne? Where's your throne? Where's your army? Where's your large army to protect you?" And so I was thinking, as they were saying these insulting words to him, what is going on here? And then I felt the edge of a sword in the back of my neck, and the soldier said, "Make the crown or you die." And so I quickly picked up 2 of the branches and I started twisting them. But it wasn't easy because they kept stabbing and pricking my hands. But I finally worked to make a basket, a circular basket about the shape of a head, the size of a head. And I kept twisting the
branches and the thorns, and finally I finished, and then as soon as I finished, the soldier grabbed the crown from me and pushed me back into the crowd, and I couldn't see anymore. And then I heard the sound of his voices, sounding like a horn, and whoo! It was just like they were mimicking a royal entry. And whoo! And then I heard the crowd gasp and then cheer. All I can imagine was the soldiers must have taken this crown and put it on his head and pressed it down to fit. Oh, it was the most cruel thing.
After that, I couldn't hear, I couldn't see anymore. I tried to see him, but I couldn't see what was going on. And so I heard this voice right next to me, this man that said, "Hail, King of the Jews! Wear your crown and bleed." Well, I left there as quickly as I could, as fast as these old legs would take me. So that's what all day long I've been thinking about. What's happened? Wondering about what kind of crime he could have committed to have deserved such cruel treatment. He looked harmless enough. Yet the soldiers mocked him and the crowd taunted him mercilessly. They called him a king, but it must have been a jest because they didn't treat him like a king. They treated him like some rag doll. And then this crown that they put on his head and put it down and forced it onto his forehead to make him bleed. Why would they do that?
How could they treat another man with such cruelty? He must have done something very bad to deserve that kind of treatment. So, this is what happened to me today. I know that my husband wouldn't believe me, so I made this crown to show him what happened. What about you? Do you believe me? Or do you believe this is just another tall tale? Oh, but I tell you it was true. I was there. They took this crown and they put it on his head and they mashed it down to make it fit and to make him bleed. I don't know why. Oh, but he didn't look like he was a criminal as to deserve this torture, but he must have done something very bad. Don't you think? That's all I can figure.